Welcome to a Mindful Bird Sit with Bird Mentor. Today we're going to be focusing on the practice of engaging our neutral mind and what that means in relationship to our birding practice. So let's get started. So let's begin today by feeling our feet on the earth or our butts if our whatever's touching the earth right now. Just let yourself feel that connection. Maybe it's through shoes, maybe your feet are naked and bare. Just see if you can tap into the connection with your feet or your bottom on the earth. Good work. Now just send your awareness down deep into the earth. We'll begin there today. Going into the place where it's dark, exploring the different layers that you encounter, as if you are roots stretching out slowly further and further and further, reaching out in all directions, down, going deep, down, down, and outward. And they say that most trees have the root system as wide as their crown. So just imagine that. And I don't know if that's actually true or not. That's just what I've heard before. So just imagine that your root system is as large as, imagine if your tree, your branches were stretched out right now. So what would your root system be experiencing down in the earth in this moment? And on your next breath, go ahead and exhale completely. And then as you bring your breath in, you're going to bring the nutrients and all the goodness from the earth that's around you deep in the soil up into your body. So allow it to travel all the way through your body, all the way to the crown of your head, and then you can leave through the crown of your head. And you can do that a couple of times. So bringing your breath in through your nose. And if you want to, you can actually do an audible sigh as you exhale, just to let yourself settle in, feeling the richness of your connection with the earth beneath your feet, bringing the nutrients in from the soil beneath you. And as you sigh, as you exhale, you can just let go. If you were holding on to anything, any tension, any rushedness that you might have felt in getting here, whatever it may be, if there's, yeah, just anything you're holding on to, just as you exhale, just let it go. Let it go. You're all on mute now, so no one's going to hear you. Just imagining the freedom with which the geese do that. I'm hearing the geese calling right now. I'm just thinking of that as they're flying and they're talking, right? Ooh, just imagine that full exhale, as if you were a goose in flight. Letting it go, not needing to hold on to anything right now. And now we're going to bring our attention to our breath. Noticing as you inhale, take a nice deep breath in, how much of your body that breath fills. And then you let it all go. You can squeeze, squeeze, squeeze it all out. Another nice deep breath in. And do that a couple of times. Just explore the parts of your inner body, your lungs, your whole system that your breath is touching right now. Good work. And so just let your breath fall into a natural rhythm, whatever is natural for you right now. Notice your posture. Notice if you're holding onto any tension in your body at all. And you can just go ahead and adjust to a posture that feels comfortable to you, feels maybe a bit more aligned. Maybe you already were aligned. And the same with your breath. Just let your breath fall into its natural rhythm. And if you do have any tension in your body right now, you can imagine that your breath is going to that place. And just let it soften. You don't have to force it, but just invite it to soften right now if it wants to. Sometimes those tensions are protecting us, and we might not be ready to let them go, and that's just perfectly fine. But maybe you're holding on to something you didn't need to be holding on to any longer. Just been kind of lingering there. Beautiful. So now with your eyes, go ahead and just explore the area around you right now. Don't turn your head necessarily, but just with your eyes, like look as far to your right as you can without turning your head. Look as far up and as far to your left. It's really good to stretch our eyes with as much as we spend time on the computers these days or looking at our screens. It's always good to kind of stretch those eyes and see where the extent of our capacity to see is. And now we're going to stretch our eyes forward and find a point to look at off in the distance. Let your eyes focus on that one point. See if you can notice any details about that point. And then as you're locked in on that one focal point, you're going to begin to soften your vision as if you were a pebble just dropping right into the center of your vision, and it's going to ripple out. And as each ripple extends further and further and further outward, your vision's going to get softer and softer and softer to the point where it may even get blurry. And do your best not to resist the blur, just allow it to happen. Noticing what you're picking up on as you allow this blur. Any subtle movements, gestures of the forest or the trees or the plants around you, maybe the insects, maybe the flickering of light on the water. Great. And so stay in this softened vision right now as we explore the sounds around us. So just receiving all the different sounds. Just noticing who's around, what other beings are here with us that we can perceive through our ears. And let yourself go a little bit deeper, listening for sounds you might not have heard the first time you explored. It might be sounds close to you. It might also be sounds that are farther away. So whatever area you need to explore or want to explore, go ahead and do that now. Good work. So most of us have come into a quieter place within our minds, and we're going to explore that place today during our practice. And something that I've been curious about lately is this idea of the neutral mind. So a mind where there is no judgment, there is no good or bad, right or wrong, there just is. And so I'll begin with a story. You can keep observing, keep staying in your softened, quiet mind and softened vision. So some of you may have heard this story. It's a famous old, I believe, parable. from China. And there was a farmer long ago who didn't have much money, and they had this one horse. And the son forgot to lock the stable the next day, and the horse got out and ran away. And the neighbors came to his house and said, "Oh no, that's so terrible. What are you going to do? How are you going to farm? You're going to lose all your money because you don't have your horse." And the farmer said, "I don't know. Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? We'll see." And then a few days later, the horse returned, and this time he brought a mare with him. So now they had two horses, but she was a bit wild. And the farmer wanted to take his original horse and the mare out one day, and so the son was riding the mare, trying to tame her. And she threw him from the horse and fractured his leg pretty badly. And the wife said to the father, she said, "Oh no, this is terrible. Our son has broken his leg. How is he going to help you on the farm? This is awful. We're going to have to spend all of our money fixing his leg." And the father said, "I don't, it might be good, might be bad. Who knows?" And a few days later, the generals came around, and the king had declared war, and all the able-bodied young men had to go to war. But this man, this farmer's son, didn't have to go because his leg was broken. And again, the neighbors came and they said, "Oh, this is so good, this is so good." And so you can see where the story's going. That our idea today is to take on the mindset of this farmer as we look and listen and feel into the environment. And so you're invited to do one of two things. You can either follow my prompts, and I'll be guiding you with different sensations, or you can just stay wherever you are. If you're in kind of a Zen place and you want to just keep exploring this idea of a neutral mind, then go ahead and do so wherever you are at. But for the rest of us, we're going to begin with our eyes. So whatever it is that you're seeing right now, can you do so with a neutral mind, with a mind that doesn't make what you're seeing good or bad? And just let yourself stay in a meditative state. But if you notice your thoughts start to come in and make a judgment about what you're seeing, then allow yourself to come back to that place that's neutral, that's neither one nor the other. So we'll be in silence right now. Good work, everybody. So you can stay in the state that you're in right now, or you can shift now to your ears and bringing your awareness to the sounds that you're hearing, and doing so with that neutral mind. So some of you might find that challenging, like if you hear a sound and it's upsetting or disturbing, and just remember the image of the branch of a tree, for instance, or a tree after a storm that loses its branch. The tree doesn't fault the storm for breaking the branch. It's just what happened. So go ahead and listen now to the landscape around you, continuing to bring yourself back to the neutral mind when thoughts come in. Good work. All right, so now we're going to go to the level and the sensation of our felt body, like our felt sense. So what your skin feels, what your inner body feels, and noticing if you can stay in the neutral mind for that. And I like to think of the story, some people, debate about whether it's true or the authenticity of the story, but there's a book called The Mutant Message Down Under. And in that story, the author tells of this experience where she was in the desert in Australia, and they had these flies that came, and you just had to sit there or these insects, while they came into your nose, into your ears, into everything. And the idea was just to let it happen, because in just a few moments they would pass, they would come through, and then they would pass, and they would leave your body. But to sit there and just allow that to happen is a really great test of your state of mind. And so just think about that as we bring our attention to our felt sense right now. Okay, great. So to close, we'll just allow ourselves to sit here in silence, just attending to all of our sensations. So not necessarily highlighting one or the other. Okay, great. So take the next moment or two to offer a blessing or gratitude to any of the ones that you interacted with today or that were teachers for you in this day. All right, y'all. When you're ready, you can come on back this way. Um, and I'll tell you too, as we are returning, that I looked up the etymology of the word neutral before we started, as I often like to do. And neutral means composed of contrasting elements, and in proper proportion, they neutralize each other. Which I looked a little bit further because I often don't like when a definition uses the same word in the definition because it doesn't really make sense. But basically, the essence of it is that the word neutral means it's kind of two things. It can mean neither this nor that, but it also means composed of both, right? So neutral means having both, not just one or the other. So it really is, and it's wild because it's both of those definitions. It's not one or the other, but it's also this one and that one. It's composed of both. So it's a really big word, I think. It's a profound word. It has many layers to it. And yeah, so I think it can take us to all sorts of places when we start to invite it and invoke that word. And so I'm curious what occurred for you all today during your sit. What came to you as you were sitting? Anyone want to share their experience? You can just wave your hand. Yeah, go ahead, Gabrielle, please. Oops, you just gotta unmute yourself. Let me give you a little ask to unmute button. There you go.
There we go. Oops. Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm visiting a friend up in Arcata, California, and I'm sitting on her deck, and she's at the edge of the community forest here. So I'm looking at all these amazing redwood trees, and that story, the horse story, is one of my favorite stories of all time. And especially now when, our whole world is in turmoil, and there's so much what Jung would call the tension of opposites, that I realized it's really hard for me to get to neutral. That I was looking at a hole in the tree, and I was right away going, oh, that's good. The light is coming in, and then some workers started using a machinery. I don't know if they're doing construction or cutting down a tree. And it was like, oh, no, no, not that sound. It was really interesting then to go back to that neutral, which I often refer to as the paradox, where the two tensions come together. And I think we're so separate right now in our world that there's got to be a way to get to that neutral place. So it was very deep for me, this session. And then there were these two birds. One was a crow and one was a songbird. And even that was like hard to be neutral about. It's yeah, this was great. And then the part I really liked, you started with our root system. And of course, in a redwood forest, where all the roots are interconnected. I had a healing session a couple of days ago here, and the facilitator was telling me I need to be more rooted. I need to really work with that rootedness in order to let go of some of the tension, so to speak. So I don't know. Thank you. This was so wonderful. So many layers of understanding, getting to. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, Gabrielle. Thank you for all that, for sharing and being vulnerable in that sharing. Because you're right, the coming to neutral isn't always the easiest place. It's probably one of the most challenging places to come to. It takes a lot for us to get there. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. What a beautiful place you're in right now.
Oh, it is. Here,
Yeah, look at that. Wow, so nice, so nice. Great. All right, thank you, Julia. Yeah, go ahead.
The thought came to me, the idea that a friend had shared, nature is indifferent. I thought, yeah. So as a gardener, I can look out there and think, well, that's pretty blooming, but it's too tall. It's blocking that plant behind it. And nature doesn't care, what my view is. So, but I like that nature is indifferent. And in the sounds, I became aware how much certain sounds in my history link to other things, other sensations, and recall. It's time for locusts now. And growing up on the farm, the locusts meant it was hot and it was dry. I mean, in July, it's hot and dry here. Well, this year, we've had so much rain in the spring and even later into June that all the growth is really lush. And I have an irrigation system, so I've been able to just, keep it alive. And I thought, this is not the vision of hot and dry. Right now, it's not unpleasantly warm in the shade with a little morning breeze. It's not unpleasant. It's just a warm day. Okay. So I became aware it something I may think of as just one sensation, like the sound of locusts, is really bringing to me other thoughts and incorporating other senses. Anyway, so
Yeah, thank you, Julia. Yeah, I can hear them right here as well, and they I agree. I think that there's a lot of meaning, that we have on we place on all these elements of the world around us, and it is interesting to start to track that. Just to take a moment, like we have just right here, just to become aware of the meaning that we place on things. Like this sound is good, that one I don't want around here, and this, this plant, this is too tall, or this is this, all these meanings that we have about the world, and what a good reminder about the earth being indifferent, you know. Yeah, yeah, nature's indifference, or maybe neutral. Nature's neutral. Hmm. Thank you. Anyone else want to share their experience this morning? Yeah, Anne, and then Jacinth, please.
My husband always used the phrase, it is what it is. And I got to where I was very annoyed because he said it all the time. And I thought it was tried and overused. But my husband is also a very insightful Zen person. And now I know what it means. This problem is what it is. We don't have to look for blame or we have this problem. It is what it is. Let's either find a solution or let it go, you know? And that's it, it is what it is. Just that moment is.
Yeah.
And then we need to move on.
Yeah, and even like tracking our words, like, is it even a problem? You
Right.
know? Yeah, is it even a problem? I don't know. Or like you were saying earlier, Gabrielle, like the turmoil, like just we can all like I'm not like isolating myself here, but it's really good for us to track our words. I have a teacher that I work with, a good friend and teacher on a regular basis, and she's always calling me to be really mindful of the words that I choose, because that's creating my reality, and so I'm constantly having to like track that, and really even really subtle words, she'll catch me on them, and I'm just like, gosh, it's kind of like she doesn't let up on anything, but it really is important to just see the world that we're crafting, and is there really turmoil right now, is there a problem, is there this, is there that? I'm not saying there is or isn't, I'm just saying like it's interesting to track, to listen to like the words that we're creating for our world, and this practice is a really beautiful one because it's like in neutral, there isn't this or that, but there is this and that, it's sort of like it's all of it, and which is very complex. It's not complicated, it's just complex, which I love the distinction in those two things. Complex is really beautiful, it's like looking at a leaf, the pattern in a leaf. It's very complex, but it's not complicated. Our system, our own body system, is very complex, but it's not complicated. It all functions like it's naturally the way it's supposed to function. It's just in harmony. Anyway, cool. So, Jacinth, you had something you wanted to share. Yeah, go for it.
Hi. I guess my experience was a little bit like Gabrielle's, whereas I was having a hard time sometimes making it neutral because I was like looking at flowers, like right now in my yard, everything is blooming and it's beautiful. And I was like, how can I be neutral about that? Because I just think that it's always nice and beautiful and it's so good. And is there even something negative about it? Like I don't know. They're even perennials. I don't even have to take care of them. They just grow every year, and I look at them. So it's not like I'm actually spending energy on them. So I'm like, wow. So, but it just reminded me that yeah, I guess sometimes we're really quick at like associating certain things with being as being positive and others as being negative. like flowers, automatically it's like positive, like it. And then I was like, oh, okay. So it just reminded me that, yeah, like lately I've been trying to have more creativity, and especially in my professional life. And I really like this exercise because I find that, when you have to be, when you want to be creative, you have to find ways to think differently. So if you always think the same way about certain things, then you can't be creative. So yeah, I really like the exercise because I couldn't really come up with something like negative about the flowers, but it just reminded me that, okay, like I have maybe to look at things and be more open-minded on a daily basis and try not to create too many like quick associations in my mind.
Yeah, that's so rad. I love that you brought the creativity piece into it. And one of the ideas I had this morning was to have us like, take something, and if we instantly judged it, sort of made the decision that this is a good thing or a beautiful thing, to go the other direction with it. But I was like, oh, I don't want people thinking like bad thoughts about the plants, or whatever, the birds. But at the same time, it's just like, but if we really are both and all, like, so it is a deep conversation, a deep practice to get into. And one of the sounds that I heard across the lake here was this father pretty aggressively yelling at what sounded like a little kid. I heard the kid cry first, and I was like, trying to stay in my neutral mind just about the crying, because it was like very quiet and like serene here, and then all of a sudden this kid's like, ah, you know, and then I heard this dad. I could hear some of his words, and they were really aggressive, and they were kind of scary even. Sorry, there's a speaking of sounds, can you guys hear the lawnmower? Yeah, okay. There's not much lawn here, but give me just 1 second.
Kristi, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Right? It's so funny. I'm just like, all right, I'm just about to finish this session up, and here's this guy who just starts mowing. What I was gonna say is I heard the father yelling, and I thought to myself, like, I was like, how am I supposed to stay neutral about this? It sounded aggressive, like maybe even abusive, and I was just like, well, that's a big test, like a really big test for this belief in this idea of the neutral mind. And so anyway, yeah, that was just to acknowledge that piece, that this can be a challenging practice for sure. Yeah, yeah. Anyone else have something they want to share from their experience? No good. Well, two things I wanted to say just as reminders. One is for those of you who are master students, be sure to check our Facebook group, because there's a sort of assignment for tonight we're doing a thing on feathers. So Facebook group has a little, if you want to take it on, of course. And then what was my other, I wrote some notes out there to my notebook out there, but let me just think if there's anything else for everybody else here. I can't think of anything at the moment. If there is, I can send you guys a message. But just try this throughout the week. Try this in other areas, and just see where it takes you. Yeah. Well, thanks for playing today, everybody. I really appreciate it. Yeah. We'll see you all soon. Okay. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.